Well,
And we've been out just 60 hours.
Yeah, we went out, what, Monday night, I guess.
No, yeah.
Okay, it looks like we're streaming live on YouTube now.
Okay. Well, Janet, I'm going to pretty much turn it over to you. All the committee members I trust have gotten the materials sent out earlier. And our action point today is to consider and then approve a salary increase percentage for the village.
All right, I'm going to leave the meeting now.
Okay.
So Janet, I'm going to change you from co-host to host.
Does that include a pay raise?
Oh, sure. Yeah, she'll get what I get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you, Tom.
All right, have a lovely meeting.
thank
Tom.
you.
They will.
Okay. Yeah. So really, I mean, I can answer any questions about any of the information you receive.
Janet, I had 2 questions on your detailed spreadsheet. First of all, thank you again. This works very well.
Yeah, it sure does. It's great.
Greg Minicello, you held the number flat across each of the columns.
Yeah, I did that last year too. Greg is a rehired retiree, and when he did that, he froze his salary.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't think I ever remember that. Okay. That was just a mechanical question. So
It was a good for us move.
Sure was.
sure.
And
Okay.
an honorable thing on his part.
Yeah, he also
Very.
forgoes his longevity pay.
Okay. All right.
What do we know about the marketplace?
He's-
I know we have numbers from other communities, but numbers don't always tell you what's happening in the squad room.
Yeah, I don't have a good feel for that. I mean, a lot of people haven't made their decisions for this year, as you saw on the spreadsheet. I think Mayfield Village was still looking at 3%. I'm looking for I can't find my spreadsheet.
But they haven't voted on it yet?
I don't think so. Although they have Union over there too, I think.
Yes.
Well, it looks like the only one you have is Pepper Pike.
Well, she got Hunting Valley.
Yeah, and she's got quite a few. Moreland Hills,
Chagrin
Bentleyville.
Falls was 3%.
Have
3%.
on
Orange
theirs?
3. Looks like a lot of them are doing 3 this year.
Is that proposed or is that?
That's what
Is
they
it
did in
done?
2020.
That's what they did.
Oh, yeah, I was looking at the top bar, the yellow bar, where there are a lot of question marks or to be determined. Yeah, it looks like the only one there.
Oh,
was
yeah.
Pepper Pike.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So the rest of them are unknown.
Or what was last year. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them don't do it at year end. A lot of them, I know at Wait Hill, we did it in March every year. So it just depends on the community when they, not everybody does a strict calendar year.
Janet, when you said March, was it March for a fiscal year beginning March?
Yeah,
Or was it not retroactive?
no. The little,
So most are to be determined is what I get out of this.
yes, for their new raises, yes.
And am I right? Hunting Valley and some of them, it appears that it's not a flat thing across the board. They're not uniform in their increase.
Yeah, some do that. I mean, it just depends. I mean, most places just do a inflationary or cost of living increase. But I guess if they see a certain job function that maybe a chief recommended that the police get a bigger increase compared to something else. It just depends.
Okay, thanks.
We did last year, we did 2%.
Right.
As far as our medical and dental and all that, can you elaborate on that a little bit? You got, where the hell is it?
Yeah,
Do you-
have Ann update you on where we are on the insurances.
Yes.
Okay, I'll start and then you'll clean up after me. please.
Absolutely.
So we did, Janet was great and got the quotes and comparable quotes on health insurance as well as the dental from, is Janice considered our agent?
Yes.
But she's really done a good diligent job. And we did have a meeting comparing. The first quote back from Aetna was a higher cost and higher deductibles, so less coverage for a higher cost. So we asked for, obviously other choices. And I think, please correct me, Janet, but
I think the deductibles were okay. But they were doing a 2.5% increase in the premiums. And there were other tweaks, I think, within it, but yes, she did go out and get other quotes.
so the Aetna, the renewal, the non-network went up as far as out of pocket. But I have to say, I really did surf the network choices that they have increased. And I would be very content with their network choices. I thought they were a lot of good choices. The one that is just kind of interesting to me is for mental health and substance abuse. It was reimbursed 100% after the deductible last year, and for this year, it's 20%.
Is it really?
So I just think that's a point of interest for the times. I think it's, in my opinion, it's dirty pool.
Yeah.
But if we do our ordinance where the village pops in and helps with some out of pocket, that makes a difference. So Janet and Janice provided a spreadsheet with 5 other, comparables. We had a meeting and we felt that Aetna, staying with Aetna, especially during these times, was the best. And then after, and also if we did an early sign-on, we got a credit of $13,000, which pretty much offset the increase in the fee for the year. And since then, Janice has gone to bat for us and got a flat renewal. So our coverage is not quite what it was last year, I think. However, I think
Very close.
It's very close. So we were thinking Aetna and our expense would be pretty much the same after this credit. And then for dental, same thing. Janice, looked over all the different choices, gave us options, and I don't see a reason to switch on the dental. The other plans didn't offer more. So do you concur, Janet?
Yes, and by November 17th, we had to agree to go ahead and do Aetna again. And with the 50% credit for premiums in December, that credit will show up on our January invoice. And when she went back to bat for us and gave them the renewal, they did a flat renewal. So that was good. Delta, she is asking them if they could do a rate reduction. The only other similar plan was with Guardian, and it was about $9 a month cheaper, but
This is what?
For dental?
Yeah,
dental.
it was dental. That's what
Yeah,
it was.
the Delta Dental is, so she's asking them if they'll do a rate reduction. She said it doesn't usually happen, but they came in as a flat renewal to begin with, but she's going to see if they'll reduce the rates a little bit just to, because of the pandemic. They're also finding a lot of employers are changing right now during the pandemic. They feel it's added stress to their employees. She said probably 90% of their groups are making no changes. So that's kind of where that health insurance. And dental
Well,
insurance-
I have to think that they've had, much like I know as a fact that healthcare insurers, including Aetna, which they did for us, have been doing rebates because they've had very low claims experience because elective surgeries generally have been postponed. I have to believe that dental insurance carriers are experiencing at least the same phenomenon.
Right.
And at least I haven't heard that they had offered up some sort of credit.
No.
So I
we got-
think,
we got a small
asking,
Sorry.
but I think asking for a reduction is eminently reasonable.
Absolutely. But has anybody not received a credit from their automobile coverage? And
No, I did. Yeah.
And have you made any request for that or submitted any data to support it? I think the answer is no. That they're being alert to the fact that the customer needs to feel an allegiance to the carrier, and that's the way you get it done.
Yeah.
You know, Ann and Janet, going back to Aetna and the mental health reimbursement, do you remember by chance if that was the same for the other carriers? Because the reason I ask is, number one, there's going to be a lot more need, and is a lot more need. There's been a lot more usage of mental health and chemical dependency services. And two, there used to be a law, maybe it's changed, that if you offered mental health substance abuse services, it had to be offered at the same rate, so to speak, as medical healthcare coverage. So I'm just surprised by that figure.
I think it's seen as a specialist because I know even the deductible is different for mental health.
It's for outpatient. Outpatient is what the deductible went up on. So it's my belief if we do the same ordinance where the village, helps reimburse for out of pocket, then I think we're being fair to our employees. I just thought it was an interesting twist.
Right.
That was the line item they chose to.
Yeah, that's troubles me. We can deal with it for our people, but troubles me, overall. And to your point, Janet, if it is because they're a specialty, then it should be the same for all the other specialties, and I doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and to Ann's original point, well, we've got our employees covered. It's still a dirty pool on their part. I mean, we're not covered.
Yeah.
We're paying more.
Yeah, I don't.
Right.
That really troubles me.
Some of this stuff, I swear there's no rhyme or reason for.
Do we know what our
get it?
Do we know what our experience has been in the last 12 months?
No, and she couldn't tell me. I mean, she knows, I guess we have some formulary issues. We have there are some real issues in our group. So she thought getting the flat renewal was very good at this point, and switching maybe troublesome in the future with some of the things that they did see with everybody filling out form fire. But I don't know the true experience of it.
But we do believe that there are some heavy users.
I believe so. I think there's, I guess, especially in the formulary list, there's some types of medicines that are being, used that are indicative of other conditions, maybe.
Well, that are costly.
Yeah.
But the good news is it's the medical and the dental and everything are really flat compared to last year. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Overall cost.
Good.
Very good.
All right. So that was the insurance side of it. I think where we're at is we need to come down to a figure, a percentage figure for an overall salary increase.
For the way.
Can I make a comment on that too? In the ordinance from
Sure.
from the last year, Tim, on the fourth or fifth page, section 211, section 11 and section 12 is where we have longevity pay and bonuses. annual pay incentives. And if this is accurate, they haven't been increased for quite a while. And before we just talk about for sure, a percentage of increase, I just wanted to comment on that, the possibility of increasing these. I guess personally, I feel like that, compensation for longevity with the village is important. And I think for the department heads to have some more discretionary funds to recognize good service. I guess, my philosophy, that would be in keeping with my philosophy and might impact how much of an increase across the board we would, agree to. But I just wanted to bring that up before we talked about the percentage increase.
Do you know under section 11 when those were changed? I don't see a date or anything with that.
I don't have a history on that. I'm sorry, Karen.
Yeah, and I don't recall changing it.
I don't remember ever doing anything with it.
Yeah.
And section 12 says
2006. Yeah.
And it doesn't give them much room to maneuver. I don't exactly.
Made a change in 08 too.
What was that?
We made a change. If you look at 13, there was a change in 08. I'm just looking at the dates when possible changes were made, that's all.
Okay.
That's healthcare.
So how do others feel about that?
Well, it's a good point. There's no
Very
question.
good point.
Well, what
I
would you
don't have a
propose?
feel to compare it to anything else. If it,
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't have like a number off the top of my head either, but
Right.
it seems pretty low.
right. I mean,
Janet, do we end up paying this out each year?
Yes.
Okay.
How much is it for last year? What was the pool for last year?
Well, it's whatever this number is. What, 14,300 total? Right? I mean, if the number's what's here on the schedule, it's.
you have that, Janet?
Yeah,
Yeah, we pay a little less for the, there's 3,800 there, 380 for each service department member who serves as a member of the volunteer fire department. Probably the year this was done, there were 10 members that were part of the fire department. We don't have 10 members right now. So that comes in a little bit less because I just don't have 10 people to do the 382. I think there's 7 instead of 10. But
Well, what about 11 of the service? How much of that is paid out each year? I mean,
well, they do their whole service. They do the whole 3,500. Plus Dave does Gene.
no, I'm talking about 11. 500 after 5, 1,000
Well,
after.
and they get that every year in between. So once you hit 5, you get that every year until you hit 10.
right.
Okay. And then the next one is divided up by the,
Yeah, 12 is divided up by the department heads for their departments.
Yeah, so part of it is like merit, right? Part of it is longevity.
Yeah, discretionary.
well, we haven't changed that in a long time.
Yeah. And
No.
I know, and just, and I think we've talked philosophically about this before. So I was glad to see that it was in there at all. I didn't even remember we had that.
No.
I mean, and they all do a good job, but when somebody goes above and beyond, it's really nice to have a way to recognize that.
And as far as section 12, do the department heads get to participate or is this only for their staff?
The department heads are in D.
I'm sorry, I just answered my own question. Okay. So police have 10 employees in addition to the police chief. Service have 8. And the fire department is really for the volunteer, and then you have 2,000 for the four department heads, so. Should we address this first before we get to pay raise?
Why not?
Well, does anyone have the feeling that those incentives are excessive?
No.
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 No, it's the other way.
Okay, so
I think they're too low.
Right.
okay, well, all right. So that then should be the basis. Is there a way for us to enhance the incentives without just changing the number?
What are you thinking there, Bob?
I wasn't a specific thought other than instead of saying 500 at the end of 5 years, it's going to make it 600. We've not benefited the village in any particular way from that. If
Right.
there are hours of service, absenteeism criteria, other criteria, the kinds of things that we might use in industry to even though it may be not codified in a labor contract, but as a matter of practice, or rather even to create an additional pool and leave management the responsibility to allocate that pool, to justify and allocate, or maybe allocate and justify.
Well, I think that's what 12 speaks to, and we've given the department heads the opportunity to like divide up their pool.
Right.
It's just that it's such
But
a
the pool
small pool.
with inflation, the pool is evaporating.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it got set up
14
in
years worth.
2006. So that's 14 years ago.
Exactly.
Let me try a couple of things here. I'm going to go in reverse order. For the department heads, if we raised it to $4,000, that's up to $1,000 per. I mean, if it was average, that'd be $1,000 per department head. There's no math to that other than right now it technically would come out to $500 per department head, but somehow that's more to work with. Right now, police at 5,000 is $500 per employee, and again, these aren't necessarily distributed uniformly.
Right.
No,
So
they shouldn't be.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
no, and so service with 8 people is already technically low. He has less to work with. So I guess while they'll be awarded in different ways, I guess I'm thinking we go to 4,000 on D. We go to what if we did 5,000 for service department and 7,000 for police? That doesn't quite come out to the same, but let's see, 7 times 8, 5,500 for service, $500 to each service department employee who's a member.
How
of
much on C, Chip, did you say? C again?
C would be 5,500. A would be 7,000. D would be 4,000. And B would be $500 to each service department employee, not 380. And how many?
The 30, okay. Oh, I got you. Okay.
And
Then they divide it out how they want.
And at most, there's 9 service department employees that are members of the volunteer fire department, right? Well, I guess there's the other 3, Byrne, Feig, and Majeski.
Right.
No, well, they're not part of that.
Okay.
Let me ask on the B, Janet, 3,800 for the fire department to be divided among to be paid to each service department employee who's a member. Now it makes it look like those two are together, but is what's before the comma, it, 3,800 for the fire department, is that what Tom has to distribute according to merit? And then he's also got 380 for each employee?
No, that is strictly just 380 for each service person that works in the fire department as well.
Okay, so he doesn't really have any kind of
No.
discretionary spending.
Mm-mm.
And not to get too technical, but does it need to be at least a certain number of hours that they've volunteered?
Well, they're part of this fire department all day, every day.
Okay.
So basically, Chip, you're saying to increase A, C, and D each by 2,000. So you're increasing by the same number. And then the tricky one is the fire department.
Well, and it's probably like 8 people because there's 9 in
Right.
total. So that'd be 4,000 there
Yeah,
instead
and
of 3,800.
Dave doesn't get that either.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty good numbers, Chip.
All right. You got that, Janet? Or
It's an improvement.
I do, I have it.
Oh,
now, what do we? I like Bob's point about rewarding for not just years of service, but I don't know if it gets too technical to.
I think this is a good start in the right direction. Let's put it that way.
So do we leave 11 the way it is, or?
Oh, commenting on section 11 now, I mean, we have to assume they're going to be retained if they're doing a good job. Right? That they
Right.
wouldn't make it to 20 years because we have such good management. They wouldn't make the 20 years if they weren't doing a good job. So I don't
You
know.
would hope not.
Hope not. So for 11, I'm saying tongue in cheek. But so I guess my argument would be to increase it across the board, not by merit in that case, because they've shown good service by being there for that long. It just seems to me that those
agree with
numbers.
that, but
are
out
low.
of curiosity, when was the last time we fired somebody?
Oh,
Well,
Really just curious.
I don't know that we've fired, but we've retired.
Right.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
So that's kind of how we've done it. We forced the retirement.
Yeah. Yeah.
I were there.
Assisted. Yeah,
I would-
yeah.
Throw out that we make changes to section 12 as Chip indicated and make a note to maybe address section 11 next year. I'm always hesitant to make too many changes at once, even when it's not COVID.
Well, and I could
I
do a
would agree,
survey on
but I-
what other communities offer. If
So
you,
that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I would suggest, I think that's a great idea. And then during the year, at some point, Janet, let's get this committee back together, look at that survey
yeah,
and
Good idea.
yeah, good. Thank you.
good suggestion, Ian. And,
I'm back, I think.
You're there.
But the one thing you don't want to do is leave the impression with people that there will be a mid-year adjustment. That the
No, this will
plan,
be for next year.
yeah,
yeah.
but I'm saying the plan to revisit ought to be ours alone.
yeah,
Right, right. And then anything we would do would be factored
next
into
year's
20
ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
All right, shall we move to the percentage increase? I'll just, I'll be the straw man. My point of view on this is that given the shape of the economy and the very low inflation that we've got, I am on the 1.5% side rather than anywhere to the right of that. I think that's an adequate increase for where we are today and I don't think we have any, when I look at what I think are comparable communities, I don't think that we've got any significant disparities that we need to make up. And so my point of view, and you can perhaps persuade, talk me out of it or overrule me, is that I'm kind of comfortable at 1.5%.
Janet, do we know, are there other communities that have a program like the one that the Improvement Society conducts each holiday season?
I know there's at least 2 others.
And do we have a sense of the size of what they raise and disperse?
I would imagine it's similar. I know in Wait Hill, we had less employees with a similar amount. So, well, it was less of an amount, but we had less employees so that the bonuses were bigger, but our way of computing who got what was different as well. Here it's more longevity based.
Who else does it besides Wade Hill?
I know Hunting Valley used to, but I don't know if they still do.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
That's a difficult thing to decide to stop.
Yes, it is.
So their increase is 1.3. Is that a done deal, Janet, in Hunting Valley?
I think that was for 2020.
Really?
That was for this year's wages.
Yeah, I think that was what they did.
Interesting. And so we don't know what they're doing for 21.
No.
It's a tough call every year, but it's especially tough because this is outright wages. It's not wages and benefits, correct, on these columns.
Yes.
So
Correct.
it's hard to know, we pitch in on some out-of-pocket costs. I'm not aware of how that translates dollars and cents, but it's hard to compare apples to apples.
Well, and that one little sheet that I did that I had stapled to the salary percentage increases, I just quickly did just a formula to show the difference, of what the additional annual increase would be based on the increased wages, pension and Medicare, and, per 0.5% increase. So that's what that little sheet was showing you.
That was very helpful. I thought.
Yep.
So at 1.5, it's 29,000 plus, and at 2, it's 38,600.
Another 10,000.
Yeah, it's another 9,000-10,000.
Right.
Each 0.5%.
Yeah, each 0.5% is about 9,300.
I will make an absolutely indefensible comment. A number that starts with 2 is infinitely larger than a number that starts with 1.
Well,
And perception is always an element in the success of something. I don't disagree with what Tim said. I'm only speaking cosmetically now.
Right.
Well, and
we're,
also
we're talking about $10,000. That's the cosmetic impact.
we've also, we don't want to get behind the 8 ball, which we were long before Janet, and Bob would remember, maybe Tim
yeah.
would, where we got behind the 8 ball because we were very,
Well, we took a lesser percentage than others each year. And so not only was there a variance in the year of award, but there was a cumulative variance because you were building off
Right.
of a smaller base.
and we don't ever want to get in that position again because we actually did lose some people and whatnot. And it was hard to reclaim the position, if you will.
And my sense, and I wouldn't say that this is a well-studied position, but my sense is that we've got a pretty good crew of people.
We do. I will attest to that.
Yes,
That's
that's a
right.
true statement.
I'll match them to any of them out there. I got to tell you, and unfortunately, you don't see it as much, but boy, they jump in. I don't care what hour of the night it is or what the time is. Janet sees it from the timesheets, but I'm telling you, with that storm, they could not keep up, but they were all there and they were all doing it. And they were, I don't think some of them ever slept that
Yeah.
full 24 hours.
They're looking pretty beaten today.
That's all bad.
Nobody in northeastern
Seriously,
Ohio.
it's
They haven't had
unbelievable.
time to shave for sure.
It's amazing. They're very dedicated to the village. It's
So Janet,
amazing.
Janet, back to your chart here. You're saying at 1.5% increase, that the whole annual increase to the budget is 29,398.
Correct.
And that's 1.5%. And that, some things I kept flat and other things, you have to take a guess on some of the part-time
Okay.
things, but yeah.
I'm in favor of 2%.
Robert's bidding 2%.
I'm in favor of 2.0%.
I'll go with it. I think it's an excellent idea. I think that's what I said with Janet earlier, wasn't it, Janet?
Yes.
Well, that's what we did last year, wasn't it?
It is.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've had to work, on one hand, we don't have as many people going out. They're more at home, so they're seeing things. But our service department has had a lot more work. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Well,
Really, budget wise, I could see where Tim is coming from, and I could support that. But I think because of the effort that they put in and what a challenging year this has been, I'd support the 2% too.
Yeah, and the argument that 1.5, you mean we got less this year than last year?
Yeah.
Last year was just a normal year.
Yeah,
I think that 2% is the right number.
that works for me.
My number coming in, I agree.
I'd rather be talked up than talked down. So.
Yeah. Anne?
I agree. I think our staff has been amazingly good sports during this year as far as working with, with what we have. So I'm happy that we're in a position that we can talk about 2%. So
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, and kind of building off of prior discussions about possibly staff reduction, this will come as a real boost, to them, that they keep their job and 2% raise.
And Janet, you'll put in all the slip of paper where it lists everything that they get and all that, because I think that is something that we instituted with Janet that really hadn't been done before. And I think that is, they get to see actually how much they really are worth individually. Right, Janet?
And it takes it home.
Yeah.
Where,
It does.
because there's always another voice, and we ought to capture it if we can.
Yep. Good. All
The
right.
only other question I have is, I'm assuming that the health reimbursement account numbers you're still okay with, keeping the same as last year for next year?
Yeah, I think that's a generous thing. And
I think so too. And
Yeah.
it's worked out very well. And I rarely have anybody that gets the maximum. So I think these numbers are still very good.
Good.
And do we have to put something in that we only go back so far, or do we have that in there, Janet?
We have that in there now. We put
Okay, good.
What did you mean by that?
Well, we don't want somebody coming back from 3 years ago claiming medical expenses.
Like in 2020, I'll pay for 19 or 20 expenses, but not back before then.
I see.
Here, I did have one incident where, we had someone that had been out and was still out when the change was made, and the law director said that, I should pay. I went back to 18 for this person, based on what the law director said.
But beyond that, I said
That's an
no.
exception, yes.
Yeah.
Enough's enough.
Mhm.
So that's where we are on that.
Okay.
That's, I think, all I need is order to get ready for council, unless anybody else has questions.
So both ordinances, the one with the revision to section 11 or section 12, excuse me. So the
Yeah,
one,
you'll see, I'll update all the wages in that ordinance. I'll change section 12 new amounts, and I think only other changes we had in that were just the rates and and then I'll do the health reimbursement ordinance, and we'll have Aetna and Delta.
And Delta, do we need to sign by December? When is the deadline?
That goes through the end of the year, but I usually pass the ordinance in December, in November or December, so that it's ready to go.
Okay.
Hopefully she'll have an answer on, what, if they can lower them at all, but we at least know it's flat.
Please pass along to Janice that we appreciate her going to bat for us, because I think she really has. She's done a nice job.
I think so too.
Nice to hear. Good.
Yep.
All right, is
Well
there any,
Okay.
that said, everybody have a very pleasant evening. Is everybody's lights on now? Do we?
No,
Chip, your lights are on. I can see a light behind, or you have a generator.
yeah, I
Generator.
have, yeah, I've run through about 180 gallons of oil so far.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Thank God for generators.
Hopefully,
Thank God for generators,
they're
exactly.
safe.
Yeah. It could be a
Sandra, is your power off? You have a generator.
We have a generator. It went off though, like Tuesday morning about 3 a.m. and it came back on yesterday about 2 o'clock. And I think that was like other people on the north side kind of had experience. But gosh, Chip and poor Mary Holmes across the street, they've been out since, I don't know, early Monday. They still don't have power.
Well, that's why I asked if Tim got power, because Berkshire's down
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Stoneham.
Yeah,
But,
we just,
Right, and-
just asked Al about,
And Chagrin River
That's
Road
about-
is down.
there we go.
I was at the post
But
office.
the power company, the latest the power company said 30 tonight, they'd have people up and running. But
Yeah.
When I was at the post office about 3 o'clock this afternoon, their power was just coming back on.
Yeah, there's still crews working out on River Road outside my house.
yeah,
Yeah, we had a lot of destruction in our yard. Oh my gosh, the hemlock, we had a big tree go down in the backyard, our cherry tree that we planted about 20 years ago, and another pine tree. I mean, it was like a whatever.
I don't even know
I
how.
have a tree limb on my kitchen roof that's balanced on the peak of the roof.
Wow.
At least so
Yeah.
far, it's not leaking, but I've been afraid to pull it off. 'Cause at the
Actually,
moment, it's-
Dave's going to try to get there, and Trevor, they're trying to get a machine that will grab these big logs and big things and then take them to our staging area to tip them all at once.
Wow.
There's so many. Otherwise,
I
they'll
guess-
be doing this.
I guess the truck that does that is the one that they could get is too small.
Oh,
So,
you're kidding.
yeah, so I don't know. They may have to run around with the loader and a truck.
I saw one of them going down the street with a loader
Yeah.
over the road.
The boulevard looks like a war zone.
Yeah.
I think
Are we
Yeah.
getting
A lot
any
of
more
places.
snow soon, or are we gonna be?
What's
seeing
that?
nothing? Are we getting any more snow soon, or are we seeing nothing?
This
No,
weekend, I think, but not that much.
Nothing serious. But if you want to feel sympathy, you can't now because we took care of it about a month ago. Come by and look at the logs we take out of the Chagrin River.
Yeah.
But when you say we, is that just the one that goes by your property, or do you go up and down the whole river for the village?
No, it's just our bridge, and
Wow.
it's usually about $4,000 a pop.
Oh my-
There's a huge tree that's been on the river near Wilson Mills. There's been a huge tree on that, and I just didn't know who to say something to. I didn't know whose bad list I could afford to, but it's been there for a couple of years, and I think it really does need to be addressed. And
Yeah.
I personally think that some of our funds from the Gates Mills Lane Conservancy, the 5% that we get, should maybe the 5% that the village gets, that's a legitimate expense to try and get those off of the structures of the bridges.
Is it in fact in the village? Because right around there, it's tricky whether that's village property or not.
It
How
is,
about-
it
What do
is.
we have for, in that fund, Janet? Well, that's something we can bring up and see.
Yeah.
That would be a conservancy kind of expense.
So every time
Yeah,
you
I mean,
come
there's
down
not,
the hill, you can, if the road were open and you were coming home from Heinens, if the road were open, you could see it clearly. If you didn't know it was closed and you were circling and didn't trust the park,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see it.
Park is notorious for not doing anything with trees. Let me tell you, they fall into the river and that's it.
But they don't put a
Right,
sign,
Bob?
they don't put a sign at some saying that it's closed. They let you
They
do a pretty
don't?
drive
They don't?
and then they say closed.
Oh,
Surprise.
no.
So,
No. Well, this is bad. I mean, we've been in the village 31 years. I don't ever remember such a heavy, wet, whatever, extensive storm like this.
I've had power out for 3 to 5 days a few times.
Okay.
Because I can remember when my kids were, I can remember having to find a hotel to put them up for, I think, 5 days. And
Wow.
that's happened
Yeah.
more and more.
Back in the 70s, I think, Tim, we had a really bad storm.
but I know the winter of
78 was a
winter of-
notorious storm.
winter of 96 was really bad. That was, it was like every afternoon and evening overnight it was coming down. I remember we couldn't plow our drive any higher. It was like a tunnel,
Yeah.
roofs caving in Lake County. I was pregnant with my daughter then and driving downtown for work. And I remember leaving work early every day that winter for that straight week because every night we got dumped on.
Wow.
That was the worst I can remember in the last few years.
People are forgetting, we bought our house in October of 1996 and took possession in maybe December. And in between then, the village had a huge wet snowfall and there were still leaves on the trees. And so there was apparently a power outage for quite a while. And so when we moved in and started working on our house, people said, oh, you really ought to get a generator because you can be out of power for a long time around here. So I thought that that was another big, long time period, but apparently not as bad as this one. So
Yeah.
we weren't actually residents yet.
I need to remind the committee that we are still live on YouTube.
Yes, so
There we go.
we can adjourn.
Well, it'll give them insight to move to Kate's
Yeah,
Mills.
that's right. That's right.
Come and join
Chip,
us.
when
the dark.
Chip, when we bought our home in 83, I think, and it had a generator, and
Wow.
the owner was very helpful in instructing me that once a month I had to, run the generator for about 10 or 15 minutes and make sure I changed the oil periodically. And I did that religiously for years. First time we had an outage, the generator started right up. It ran for 15 minutes and died.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, Bob.
So we're living with the newer generator at the moment.
Now they automatically charge up every week, Bob. You don't have to go out anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you don't have one, it's worth it. Wow, is it worth it?
Well,
All
everybody have a
right.
good weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, stay well,
Everybody have a
everybody.
good
That's
weekend.
Thank you, Janet.
See you soon.
take
Bye-bye.
care.